This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
It's the collab today. Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch. Paul Catalina, Triple Option. We are doing each other's shows simultaneously through the magic of science today. This is what the internet gods have brought us, and I will not deny it. So Josh is here, and the backstory of this, and I'll just tell it right now, Josh, we did a very fun segment 3 days ago. It was awesome. We had a technical glitch, and it was essentially a Charlie Chaplin film.
Yes.
So here we're back, and
fingers are crossed.
We are doing
Paul, everything in my life right now is a disaster. Like, I've got a damaged vehicle. Right now, you know, the podcast is I've had 3 separate ones this week that have the audio. We're trying to figure out what the heck's going on. So hoping this one's going to work.
Do I need to? We can hear you on our end, Garrett. So
as long as everything sounds good, I might even run audition on my side just to make sure it sounds good. So, but I'm glad to be here, Paul. I'm glad to talk to you once again.
We're simulcasting on both channels right now. So if you do have problems later in the day, you could just call this your show. So, so there we go.
This is today's show.
Yeah.
This is today's show.
Yeah. So there you go. But we need to do this probably once or twice a month, Josh. You and I have a rapport, a chemistry, a kindred spirit that the world needs to see, I think. And plus, if we get more people watching this show and your show, the better, because that's the business that we're in. So there's a lot, Josh. So I really, yesterday when we talked, I said, let's just do those topics again because they were really good. And then now we've got more than a cherry on top. We've got like the Ron Swanson, I will have that third porterhouse of a topic in this college Super League. So let's start with the Super League, and then let's work our way to the show we did the other day, which was Big 12 versus ACC. You know, how does the Big 12 benefit if the ACC falls apart, and those things. And so we can just kind of ping pong back and forth as co-hosts here, Josh, and roll on through. But let's start with the college Super League. So broad strokes here, 10 team leagues, I don't really want to say leagues, but divisions that will stay the same. If you're one of those 70 teams, which would include Notre Dame and SMU, which that's a nice thing for SMU to have gone through all this financial trouble and to get this bone thrown to them if it happens. And then there'll be another division of teams that are in the promotion relegation division, and those are the only teams that can move up and down. That's it. The 70 teams are static. They're never going to go anywhere, which is the only way they could get them to agree to this if they ever do. And then there's no committee. The TV deals are negotiated differently. Bigger brands do get a bigger slice of the pie, like Alabama or Notre Dame, but collective bargaining, NIL, all those things to head off antitrust that pass. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, a bad idea, or whatever, but it is an idea, and it is something different. Josh, what are your thoughts on it?
It's a fantastic idea. The first thing I want to say is The Athletic, they had the article, Stuart Mandel and Andrew Marchand. This is why you hire people like Andrew Marchand. I mean, we're familiar with him, Paul. He was all over the Pac-12 stuff, the Big 12, not the expansion, but like the TV side of it. Really just attacking it from the angle of, the clock's ticking on the Pac-12, so why would the value of the conference be getting any greater? And the Big 12 is right there in case things fall apart. And look, that turned out to be right. He is a really good reporter. He's not actually a college sports guy. So he's actually the right kind of person to have on the sports business stuff. What I'll say is this is exactly what we wanted. Whenever you think Super League, so I am a fan of European soccer. Their Champions League is, you take the top 4 from France, the top 4 from England, the top 4 from Germany, the top 3 from Spain, and whatever it is, the top 2 from Portugal. They all play in a league during the weekdays, and they're not playing in their own country. And the nice part about this is like, no matter where you are, you can play your way into it. Mm-hmm. So last year there is a team called Sheriff Tiraspol, which was essentially located in essentially a communist state. And they were able to play their way in, and they beat Real Madrid, one of the biggest teams in the world. And so that can still happen here, right? Is it likely? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right. But still, the lower tier schools have access. And I think Bud Elliott from CBS put it pretty well. Look, the schools that want to spend and get in from the lower levels, they're going to spend, and the product will most likely reflect that. Think about a lot of your Sunbelt schools. Like the financial investment for a lot of Sunbelt schools is really strong. So, you're going to see that. The really good news is this. When I've heard Super League, my main concern is, are you just going to go miniature NFL? Mm-hmm. Because you are not the best product. The NFL is the best product. Mm-hmm. And so why should K-State fan Joe Blow care about Alabama versus Clemson every single week? It's Alabama, Oregon, Clemson versus Oregon, Washington versus USC. Why should they care if their schools can't be a part of whatever happens in the end? Mm-hmm. Right? Because if I'm a K-State fan, I've got my Chiefs on Sunday. I got my K-State on Saturday. I've got whoever else my K-State team plays. I've got a lot of friends who are FCS football fans from the East Coast. So I've got friends who went to Richmond. JMU was an FCS school at one point, and they really cared about, they watched casually Division I, but they cared about their school, the other teams their school could play, and then the NFL on Sunday. And I think if college football went with a 30 or 40 team Super League, Paul, they were going to be in danger of basically losing a lot of casuals, because they might not be the largest fan bases, but if you stack up enough of them, it's enough people to matter, right? You can't take all the Big 12 fan bases and be like, it's no people. It starts to become a pretty significant number. So I think it's important that whatever the Super League is, like, you protect it, because that stuff, these teams need to be in there. Like, you're already tearing at the fabric of college football a little bit. You need to make sure that you don't tear too much. And so I think a group of 70 that's static, as long as you're not setting up to make it a group of 40 that's static and we're going to keep going and going and going, you're okay. I think this is the right move, the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Josh, here's what I think. The bases they have to cover is making all the big boys happy. Now, this will come at the expense of some of the big boys aren't happy. And I think the pushback from the Big Ten and the SEC schools that have these great deals is Alabama's going to be fine. Georgia's going to be fine. A&M and Texas and Oklahoma are going to be fine. USC, UCLA, Ohio State, Nebraska will be fine. But Rutgers, Indiana, and Purdue and Vanderbilt are not going to be able to say, like, oh, I mean, we get this much money. So if you're individually cropping out who are the biggest money earners, that's going to just go down the list of the TV ratings. And there's about 20 to 25 schools that some will get bumps, like Florida State, Clemson would get bumps. And then the rest, and some of the Big 12 teams might get bumps there, again, because of being in Texas and all of that kind of thing. And then some, like Mississippi State, may take a hit. But still, everybody's going to have the money. The TV deals will be negotiated together and not separately. I think that is huge, because that's a huge part of this, and a huge part of this conference pride nonsense that we have going on right now, where, my least favorite part of the realignment stuff. Because honestly, you Joe Blow fan does not actually care about the conference. No.
Like the idiots who chant SEC at people, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Look,
you care about your school.
Yeah. Look, you're a Mizzou fan. Georgia's never done anything for you.
No.
I mean, again, that's it. Like what?
I cover Arkansas. What do I like? I like beating them every year, but I don't owe them. They don't owe us anything. We don't owe them anything.
Yeah. No, again, you don't nothing's ever happened to Georgia that's benefited the Mizzou fan at all. Like, maybe Mizzou as a school overall making money, but has Mizzou ever sent you just a $25 check for hey, we appreciate you just being a good guy and being a fan?
No, they asked for my money instead. They solicit cash.
Hey, this is from Georgia. They just want to appreciate you chanting SEC when they won the title. No, that's not how it happened. So also what it would do when you have 7, 10-team divisions, I would assume that those would be regional again. and that they would make sense. And now they wouldn't be probably exactly what we're used to and thinking of, but, if you had Miami, Florida State, UCF, Florida, in a division that are all going to play each other, in addition to Georgia and Alabama, and like maybe an Ole Miss or something, that's fine, right? And then
I don't know, Paul. You don't want to protect Rutgers, USC?
Yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna. UHealth doesn't want to protect it. Rutgers and or USC. the worst day of either of their years is going to be the day they find out how many times they have to go to each other's school in a given year to play sports.
The Maryland Rutgers swing for like a majority of sports. It's going to be like the Tuesday, Saturday trip out to the East Coast for basketball. It's going to be miserable.
Yeah.
It's going to be miserable.
Yeah. I do think there's part of the Big Ten that looks at itself right now and says, we wanted Maryland and New York for the DC and NYC cable markets. Well, that's less important now because it's all about the ratings of the individual games. Like, that's what really drives the ratings, because if you look at even the SEC network, if you look at those three networks, the Big Ten network, the ACC network, and the SEC network, and I'm not including the Pac-12 network in this because it might as well have never existed. But even though it did, I know it was a real thing. It was out there. I just never saw it.
You pay your respects. You pay your respects to the Pac-12 network.
Hey, I was a DirecTV subscriber until yesterday, literally yesterday. So, yes,
What are you going? Are you going YouTube, Apple?
Hulu. I went Hulu. I wanted to go YouTube, but Josh, you're engaged, right? Married.
I'm not engaged. No.
You're not engaged. Okay. No. Okay.
No.
You'll know this when you get married. I would have just gone to YouTube TV, but they are still without several channels that my wife watches. So we had to go to Hallmark. Hallmark was a big one. Hallmark was a big one. Great American Family was one. She likes those things. Big Candace Cameron fan I'm married to. Didn't realize that. So she's a Candace fan. I'm more of a Jodie Sweetin person.
Well, also, this
I like my Full
point.
House cast members rough.
This goes to your point, Paul. Like even people, I know in major cities there are more cable boxes, but like people don't have as many cable boxes anymore.
No.
People, you're a relatively younger adult, and I'm a young adult as well. Like, you just cut the cord. I have, ever since I've moved out of my parents' house, I do not have it anymore. And my parents are about to turn 60, and they're about to make the switch over to streaming too. So like, it's not really as important to be in the the regional areas. No,
it's not at all. So you look back and you're like, well, what have we gotten out of this? Because if you watch the games that are generally on those networks, they're only the games that you would watch if you are fans of that team. Or idiots like the three of us in this room that go, you know what? Duke and Louisville could be a good game. Let's throw that one on. But otherwise, it's Duke and Louisville fans and some like people like us that are like, yeah, because we happen to know all the players for each team because we're,
degenerates.
Yeah, we've got problems. We've got big problems. So
I've got the first half under in Cincinnati, in Cincinnati Pitt on the CW.
Or
that's who I am.
Or listen, Garrett, I'm sure this is happening. Your wife likes sports and my wife likes sports.
Yes.
But even sports fan spouses will come in to the room where you're watching a game going, oh, who's on? And you're like, this is Ole Miss and Arkansas. And you're like, are they good? They're kind of okay. Well, why are you watching this? Well, I like Quinshawn Judkins. Exactly. I just kind of want to watch him for a little while. Like, well, are we going to go to the thing? I'm like, yeah. Well, after these next 4 drives, like, is this a game you care about? Yes, because I care about all of them.
Exactly.
As a college football fan, you do, even though there's levels, you care about all of them. As a matter, I'll tell you this story real quick, and then we got to get back to the topic. So when Amanda and I were dating, she was living in Nashville, and she came here to visit me. She came in, and we went. She wanted to go shopping in the morning, and it was the day of the Texas OU game.
Ooh.
In I'm going to say 2021, which is a really good, like a comeback game. It was wild.
The Caleb Williams game?
Yeah, I think that's the Caleb Williams game, right? So that's the Caleb Williams game. And we're in this little shop in Waco, one of these little boutiques down near Magnolia. And I didn't realize this, and she had to tell me after the fact. But she's like, you were being an absolute jerkwad, just an a-hole, all the way up and down. And it was because I was looking at my phone, and the game had started to get really interesting. And I was like, all right, come on, let's put a pep in your step. Let's go. Come on, let's move here. Let's move. Let's put a move on it, you know? And so she like left and was on the plane thinking like, well, maybe he's not the guy I thought he was. And I had to come back. I had to get on the comeback trail. So yes, that's why. But yeah, Josh, I think to go back to the Super League, like it'll be better all the way around, in my opinion, if they do it right and they don't let the Greg Sankeys and Tony Petitis and all the university presidents of this mess, like keep it, like make them, this is the plan. This is how we've worked it out. This is how you'll get your money. This is how things are going to work. You can still have an SEC. You can have all these things. We'll even name the divisions, you know, after what you want.
You can name each one. It just means more. You can name each one.
You could do all that thing. You can keep your branding. But we are not going to, because I think the people in charge of this hopefully understand. I hope they understand this. I don't know if I think they do. I hope that they understand that where college sports are headed, and it's going to be really bad for the Olympic sports. Really, really bad if you don't go back to being regional, not only financially, but interest-wise. Because already, look, Garrett and I are both huge college baseball fans, but, you know, and he'll never have to worry about this because he's LSU. Now, of course, I'm
winning championships, Paul.
Yeah. But bottom line is, if you're a Stanford baseball fan, how excited are you going to be about playing Duke? And Stanford has had really good baseball runs in the past. But if you're a Stanford baseball fan, are you going to lose a little bit of your, you know, excitement because they're not playing USC anymore? You're going to. You're going to lose that in football too, although it'll be masked by the fact that it's football and that's a different animal. But there's a long-term future here where when you take away enough rivalries, I'll give you Colorado and Oregon as the example. The Pac-12 tried forever to make Colorado and Oregon a thing. Like, oh, they hate each other. And they're like, no, we don't. We smoke a lot of weed in both these states. We're cool. You know, like there's a white guy with dreads. I'm another white guy with dreads. Like, you know, after the game, we're all going to go skateboarding. You know, like there was no, like they tried to create this rivalry that just wasn't there. And if you ask a lot of Colorado fans, they're like, no, you know who I still hate? Nebraska. You know, that's who I don't like.
Yep.
I don't like Texas Tech. You know, I'm still pissed about our loss to Kansas in 2004 or whatever that was. You know, those are the things they don't like. Kansas State, like we had Matt McChesney who played for Colorado on a couple times, and his absolute disdain for Kansas State was palpable.
Oh, it was nice. Yes.
Yeah. So like those are the things they hit about, and you're like, oh, don't you really hate Arizona? And they're like, well, maybe one day we will, but you know, why?
Well, that's a big part of this. Like for the Big 12, the scheduling, people were upset certain games were protected. These teams have no history, so it's important that they build some history. Like that's why this game's not happening back to back years. Guys, they need, these teams don't have any familiarity. They got to play each other.
Yeah.
Like to build some continuity. And the big point here, and like this is really the big thing of this, because I think this is a good model. It almost makes too much sense, which means they won't do it.
Yeah.
But like regionality matters. Jeff Goodman talked about the best basketball environment he has been in. It was Texas Tech. Guess who they played? Texas. Do you know why? Chris Beard left Texas Tech. And by all accounts, it was like one of the most difficult decisions he ever had to make. And I mean, really just labored over it, but Texas was his dream job. And Texas Tech, you know, that place was a madhouse because of that. And when you start to tear the fabric, you lose things like that. You lose Bedlam, right? I mean, you know, like you have to be careful how much of this that you pull at. And that's why, to me, it's important that, 70 teams are involved, because like great matchups, that's awesome. We want great matchups. But Alabama-Michigan was special because Alabama-Michigan was a semifinal that happened in the Rose Bowl. So they had to earn their way there to that point.
Yeah.
And if you play Alabama-Michigan 13 times in a year, and I don't mean like that game itself, but like, Clemson versus Alabama, Clemson versus Oregon, if you're playing those type games, it's not as special, because guess what? Clemson ends up at 9-3. It's going to feel NFL-ish with how they get into, they had 9-3, but it was a tough 9-3, whatever. Like, you need to, Alabama had to beat Georgia. And a lot of people thought that Alabama shouldn't be in the playoff. Like, you know what I mean? So you have to protect regionality. You have to protect, making games special, because like that is ultimately why people do care. It's not just because it's Alabama. It's because Alabama wins, and Alabama, you have to win to get to those spots and to play other winners. If you just say, hey, these are winning programs that are big brands, let's have them play all the time, it's not as special.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when we come back, I'm going to let, I'll introduce the segment, but Josh, since you did such a good job of bringing it in, let's do Big 12 versus ACC in college basketball. And then in the last segment, we'll do Big 12 and how they could benefit if the ACC collapses or where they're in. So we'll do those topics because, again, you and I had a wonderful discussion the other day, and it was really good. I even threw some of it, like, just thoughts onto the podcast afterwards because I was just so excited about it. So let's have that discussion again after the dress rehearsal and the silent movie era that we went through. And we'll do that next. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
This is also a collab with Big 12 Watch and Josh Neighbors. And that is over on our Crystal Ball College Football channel, which Josh is the regular custodian of that. And I say that in a museum custodian way and not a, like, janitor kind of way. Like, if you were, it's like the Met. Like, if you're the custodian of the Met, that means
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I don't want people to think, like, oh, he just,
I didn't feel offended. Don't worry.
He would cleans things up and takes the waste paper baskets, and when there's vomit on the floor, he pours kitty litter on it. That's not what he does. So, no. Not in that kind of a way. So, Josh, let's get into it. Big 12 versus ACC in basketball this year. I'll let you run with this one because you so wonderfully formulated this topic.
Hey, Paul, I was muted there. Okay. So, yeah, like the conversation about, hey, what's the best basketball conference? Because with what the Big 12 did in the tournament, it's hard to make that argument. What I will say is this. The ACC has had more tournament success as of late. Think about it. I'm not sure how many years back now, but recently Duke, Carolina, and Virginia have all won national championships. Now, Big 12 has been pretty close, right? They've had Baylor and Kansas win a championship. Texas Tech, they were. Well,
Virginia's the swing in that, right?
Right. I mean, it's the swing game, right? It's game 5 of the series if you want to do like that. But and maybe, Paul, I think the big hook here is, are we having a different conversation if Jamal Shed stays healthy? Because I think they hung right there with Duke. And if you lose by 3 with Duke and you look like the worst team, okay, well, what happened? Well, you're missing the conference player of the year.
Yeah.
Your point guard, which we all know guard play in March, and also the defensive player of the year. So stopping initiating offense is a little bit easier. So, it's a big loss, right? But still, on the whole, the Big 12 did not play well enough in the tournament. I think my thing is this. The depth of Big 12 is better. When you look at the depth of the league overall, I know the Big East has less teams. But from a coaching standpoint, from a talent standpoint, from a resources standpoint, man, Jerome Tang lost one of his starting point guards and lost due to his school. One of his best swingmen. They played basically 6 guys the entire year. Mm-hmm. And I actually thought it was a pretty good coaching job considering the situation that roster was in. They didn't even make the tournament this year.
But they were right on the cusp though, too.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, the non-conference stuff, sure, their non-conference schedule was crap. I understand it was crap. But man, it's still a really good league top to bottom. And if you look at the ACC and think about what the ACC is offering this year, I mean, just because these teams are doing well in the tournament, did Pitt deserve to be in? UVA got dog walked in that first 4 game. And, the crazy thing of this is how basketball works, Paul. If NC State does not bank in a 3 against Virginia in the ACC tournament, they're not here right now. And so as good of a job as it was, as Kevin Keats, he still had to save his job. He's about to get fired. And you look down the line in the ACC, Syracuse is not what they used to be, right? Virginia Tech did not have a great year. Florida State, this, I mean, Leonard Hamilton is, and the 2 coaches in Florida, I would say, I love Jim Larinaga too. I love, but I think he's kind of getting towards the end here. This team should have been a lot better than they were. So the ACC is cashing that check and come tournament time, right? They've done a really good job. Mm-hmm. But NC State's not going to win the championship. Let's be honest about this. I mean, I don't like I love DJ Burns. I don't like DJ Burns versus Zach Edey. It's kind of a losing proposition. So I think the ACC is the best tournament success. UConn can't just carry the Big East. You need more than just one team, right?
Yeah. It would be nice for the Big East to get St. John's back in this.
Yeah, Patino will be there in a second. He'll give him 2 more. He's old, but but Creighton, they get close. They have not cashed check. Mm-hmm. Shaka Smart, we were talking about this the other day. His one Final Four run, or was one run, was I think this was his first run to the second weekend of the tournament since his Final Four run at VCU, which was a long time ago. So my thing is that one team can't carry a league. The Big Ten's been crap forever. Purdue is way overdue getting there. They should have been there a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So the Big 12 can't claim they're the best, but who's knocking them off is kind of my big question here.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. I think part of the problem with the Big 12 is they do, and not that other leagues aren't like this, but the Big 12 is honestly from December 30th until Selection Sunday.
It's physicality of it.
It's the physicality of it.
And the referees letting it all go is a big part of it also.
Yeah. But getting through that league, you are in tournament mode from that second on. You really are. And a 3-game losing streak can happen to not just a good team. 3-game losing streaks can happen to great teams in the Big 12. Great teams. It happened to Houston. They had won a losing streak. I know people don't remember it, but in the first part of the Big 12 calendar, they were not as invincible.
It's funny. Jeff Goodman put out a list of the top 4 active coaches at Mount Rushmore. Hurley. Yeah. I think he's number 1 with a bullet right now, with the way he's got UConn humming. Kelvin Sampson, Big 12. Bill Self, Big 12. Scott Drew, Big 12. Yeah. And he's, Scott Drew, and you could argue, hey, Mark Few, right? But who else is supplanting? I mean, they still have 3 of the 5 best coaches in college basketball.
Okay, here's why Scott Drew's also on the Mount Rushmore. How many Danny Hurley, Bill Self, and who was the other one you said? Kelvin Sampson.
Kelvin Sampson.
Okay, how many of their disciples are out getting hired right now? Not as many. There's not. I mean,
who's the last Kansas assistant to get a head coaching job, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. And that's not a knock on Kansas.
Not a knock. It's just like, you just don't see it.
Like, okay, it's a strength that Scott has that maybe okay, Jerome Tang, John Jacobs, Paul Mills, Grant McCaslin, Matt Driscoll. That's 5 guys.
Good Lord.
5 dudes that are head coaches now. Now, look, Jacobs is just new to this. But look, I'll tell you, either next year or the year after, Alvin Brooks III is going to be a head coach somewhere. And that will be 6 guys that are out there doing that. And Paul Mills, I think he's at Wichita State. Give him a couple years. They'll be Wichita State again. And that's amazing.
And you flip it, who are the ACC's best coaches? I think Hubert Davis is going to keep doing a good job.
Yeah.
Shire's still new. Tony Bennett, he's got a problem, man. Besides that one run they had.
He even admitted that he's probably going to have to change his style.
He has to.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that bailed him out that year was they had Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, 3 NBA players. Mm-hmm. So I think the ACC, they're doing a great job. And Brad Brownell, I want to give him a lot of credit at Clemson. He did they looked so prepared in every freaking game they played. And I thought that speaks to him. And Kevin Keats did a great job making that team believe. Mm-hmm. But it's on a night-to-night basis, on a depth basis, and a coaching basis, like the Big East is kind of the other league I think that can hold a candle. The SEC's got a lot of good coaches too.
Yeah.
But the SEC's not winning championships. They can't be in this conversation. They don't win championships. The last team to win a championship was Anthony Davis's Cal team at Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I think the Big 12 is still kind of the best league, but they're not. The last 2 years have not been good in the tournament.
No, and I think that part of that is, look, for Baylor in particular, and this now is Kansas because the league's gotten bigger, so that they're a little more worn down. Like when you have, okay, they lost to UCF this year. Why do you think they lost to UCF? Other than their depth problem, is all right, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened in that gym. It is not
besides Taco Fall, yes.
Yeah. But when Kansas rolls into Orlando and it's not a tournament in November, it's not an NCAA tournament game, a regular season game with conference implications in the conference you're excited to be in that gym. Look, Kansas is at a disadvantage that they've never been in before, in that this is the biggest moment of this program's life to this point. And no one involved with that program would tell you any different. They're walking around and be like, man, isn't this great? This is amazing. As where Kansas is we're going to be here an extra day because I'd like to go to Harry Potter World. And,
or just get an extra day off because they have no depth.
Exactly.
We can lose this one.
Coach Self told us if we won, we all got free butterbeer. So, that's all, we don't really, because if you're Kansas, you take everything seriously, but you're also Kansas. So, that you've had those times. Well, now, BYU comes in and makes the tournament. UCF had a good year all year.
Wes Miller at Cincinnati is not a bad coach either. You're about to add Colorado. Tad Boyle did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And by the way, Arizona's got, from a personnel standpoint, Arizona was, honestly, I think personnel wise, they were actually right there with UConn. They just have not gotten the job done yet.
No, absolutely not. So they'll probably get there. Again, the league is going to make them better. And the two programs that were bad, quote unquote bad, were Oklahoma State and West Virginia. West Virginia is transitioning out of an all-time great coach in Bob Huggins.
My guy, Bob Huggins.
Yeah. I need to tell you my Bob Huggins story.
Everybody's got one. Everybody's got one.
I'll tell you, it was me and him in Kansas City. We were walking on treadmills, and there was a dude between us. And at the hotel, the downtown Marriott, we're both on treadmills, and there was one of these dudes who was doing this circuit workout. And even though the gym in the KC Marriott's very nice, it's not a circuit workout gym. It's not you come in and it's nice.
Don't do a circuit in a hotel, Jim.
Yeah, don't do that. Like, it's not just like I felt like
hotel.
Larry David. Like, what's this guy doing? Like, who do you think you are? You're not in a Gold, sir. I'm sure there's one close if you'd like to go there. But like, this is the Marriott, and so it's very nice. It's got a great view. You can see, out the windows into downtown Kansas City. And this guy's doing these like 90-second sprints and then running around and doing circuits. And so he did that for, about the 15 minutes of Huggy Bear and I being on the treadmill. And then my first interaction ever with Bob Huggins, was the guy leaves without wiping down his very sweaty treadmill, by the way. And Huggins turns to me and goes, "The F was that?"
Hell yeah. People, I want to make this know, I love Bob. Like, I do actually like Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
Like, he's a great character. I miss him.
Yeah. I'm glad he's healthy and doing better now as well. But yes. I will always remember that story. And then later on that night, I saw him down in the hotel bar and we talked again. And he couldn't have been more friendly. So, but I just always think about that when I think of Bob Huggins. So, and then you had Oklahoma State who, look, Mike Boynton is going to work for Dusty May for a year. And then he's going to get a job probably in the Big Ten somewhere and win. I really do believe that. I think the NCAA just derailed Oklahoma State so badly that there was no coming back from that. Like, they took all of the excitement and momentum out of the program, and he could never build it back. It's just it was well beyond his control, because I don't know if there's an X and O guy that can stand with Mike Boynton, and he's a guy who can clearly recruit. He got Cade Cunningham to Stillwater, Oklahoma. So,
and like, the problem was their personnel in depth. Like, they just didn't have the scholarships to get in enough guys.
Yeah, they had the scholarships, and then again, it's just like there was a malaise that had fallen over the program. So if the two things that have to happen is a coach firing in May and the NCAA leveling a draconian penalty to make teams not, I'll just say not even bad, but just not good in your league, like, tells you what the depth of the league is.
And like, if they expand the tournament, like, I don't want it to be like this, but they're going to put a bunch of Big 12 teams. Like, the Big 12 is going to occupy those extra spots. Because like, if we do the net rating and the RPI and the quad one wins, like, the Big 12 teams are going to have those. So, if it expand, it's going to be more Big 12 teams, more opportunities. But I'm not too worried about the basketball thing. Basketball is cyclical. And once again, like, the tournament, it's a one game deal. Yeah. And you're gone. So.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's all about matchups too. If you if you just took a 3-seeded Big 12 team and a 3-seed ACC team and flipped regionals, the results could be swapped in that, well, this team was going to beat any 3-seed they saw, and you were going to beat any 14 you saw, or whatever it is. Those kind of upsets, or the 6th seed here is, just a better matchup for that one, and there you go. You move on. So, all right, Josh, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of realignment here, or potential realignment, I guess. Florida State and the ACC are at loggerheads, as Clemson has now joined in that. Florida State did have their motion denied today for the lawsuit to have it dismissed. The ACC.
Take that, Paul. Take that.
Yeah, I think
take that, Court L.
I think, here's what I think. Everybody on the other side of the lawsuit always files to have it dismissed on the chance that could just happen. Like, like, if you find some sort of thing you can say, like, this is why it should be dismissed, might as well file and see if I can dismiss this and move on down to the next one. Otherwise, I don't think I'm doing my job as an attorney.
Right.
Like, you could probably have like, if I was at DuPont Chemical, you could probably have a picture of me dumping poison into the water, and then they're going to sue me and be like, listen, you don't know that that's poison. Even though it's in a bin called poison, and you have a video of me saying, I, Paul Catalina, am dumping poison in the water, I'm still going to probably, as a gigantic corporate overlord, say this law should be dismissed on the grounds of there's nothing that says I can't do that. So,
and like all things, there will be a settlement.
yeah, exactly. So, but Matt Baker, by the way, Tampa Bay Times, did a great kind of breakdown of FSU's lawsuit and the ACC's lawsuit and where it is, because it's very confusing because you hear these things like, oh, motion denied, this and this, and you're like, does that mean a win or a loss? It's like, no, it just means that there's a new tactic coming. There's no, and this is the other thing. It's going to feel like when you hear that, like, if you're a movie fan, like a movie's coming together and you're like, oh, they're finally going to do this movie. And then it just gets caught in development hell. And then afterwards you're like, why did they make that movie? And you're like, well, the studio just decided to take a write down on it and we're moving on. So see you later. And that's what it's going to be, is like Florida State, Clemson, and anybody else, you owe us this much money if you want to leave. Please don't say anything about how we do business behind the scenes. We don't want anyone to know. It's better for all parties if you don't know. The thing I think and I'll say this right before we go to break, that would be bad for Florida State or Clemson is the ACC's defense is, well, you guys agreed to this in 2016. And if you're going to shine sunshine on things, even though the administrations at both places are different, like the stuff that probably was like, I can't wait to, this sounds great. We're enthusiastic about this. Like, it probably wasn't even questioned. It was, in fact, I would even bet that Florida State and Clemson might have been part of the front of like, let's just get this done in 2016 so we don't have to worry about it anymore. And they don't want to be like, well, you didn't have any foresight then. Like, why do you get to have it now? But anyhow, when we come back, how could the Big 12 benefit or be involved if the ACC does in fact fall apart? This is the Triple Option and Big 12 Watch on 365 Sports and Crystal Ball College Football.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. Just a little housekeeping here real quick. Garrett, we will not have at least this show on Monday.
Yes.
We're trying to figure it out for the other show.
There's a historic moment, man.
Yes. Josh, I don't know if Arkansas is quite in the path of the eclipse.
Oh, the path of totality. Give me a break.
We actually, the best place in the world to see the totality is right outside the door here.
Unfortunately. And fortunately.
Yeah. So it's awesome for Waco. It's not so great for us who have to go about our lives once the sun goes back to where it normally goes. So Garrett and I would like to see the eclipse.
I want to see it.
Yeah, we definitely want to see it. If we're inside doing the show during eclipse time, we're going to miss it and feel like dorks. So we probably will feel like dorks anyway in those glasses. But
I will take it. I will own it. That's fine. It's a sort.
Oh, there we go. See, he's got his eclipse glasses ready to go.
My mom sent me these. It's like a fruit roll up. There's no.
It's like them Stevie Wonders.
There's no ends on this, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen. We had one in Missouri when I was in college, and I watched it in the parking lot of the gas station I was working at the time. I was not impressed. I've had enough eclipses in my life, but for the folks who are going out there enjoying it, go and enjoy it. But Central Arkansas is also a hot spot for it too. So.
Yeah, so we don't know if we'll be able to park here. We have no idea.
Yeah, it's
every hotel room is booked.
It's insanity. Like they're like the hospitals are stocking up extra, and I'm like, is this Y2K? I mean, what's like?
You know what I'm worried about is the hippies and the orgies. I think that's gonna, the moon dancing, that kind of stuff. That feels like a place that could happen.
Like
over
a
there.
Fox News fear mongering segment.
Yeah.
I'm worried about those leftist hippies and the orgies. It's going to be a problem.
You gotta worry about that. A lot of crunchy granola girls going to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm excited for it, like for the city and all, but it's one of those things where I think we all in Waco, we're all like, hey, this is really cool. But also those of us who live here are like, all right, well, when is it going to be kind of over? Because I've got to live the rest of my life. We're like, a man and I are going to the grocery store on Friday morning because if we go on Sunday, it'll be like, Fort Lauderdale before a hurricane. Just one stray AAA battery and a jug of milk. It's just gone. So we will not be here on Monday. All right, Josh, the ACC and two of their big brands are at loggerheads. I'm sure North Carolina is not far behind, especially given that I believe it was the head of their board of regents said a few months back that the ACC is protecting their lower revenue teams at the expense of the higher revenue teams. And he was not saying that because he is a low revenue team that is getting that protection. He said that because he's a high revenue team that is not happy about that. And just because they made some sort of agreement last year with the 7 schools doesn't mean that the ones who haven't done anything yet aren't still mad about it. So that is going to progress. And I'll kind of let you take the topic from here because, again, it was your topic the other day.
Yeah, so, the big question I was like, how involved will the Big 12 be in whatever the next round of realignment is? And so I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But like the way it's always been described to me when I was working at SiriusXM, I worked on the ACC channel a decent amount. And like ironclad was the word that got tossed out there a lot with the grant of rights. And they did sign it. And yeah. I think that's like the big challenge here. The other part of this, though, is that there's always a number. Mm-hmm. There is always a number. The problem, though, was that, the contract length was the big deal. So, like, I guess, I don't know, Paul, I feel like they might come to an agreement, but I feel like the agreement might necessitate, like, it might be an agreement like, hey, they're going to leave in 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. Because once again, it's such a long, contract time. So like, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Do you feel
it's
that?
Well, look, I remember when I heard it, and then I was like, okay, well, I guess you're protecting yourself because you don't want to be the Big 12. But even still, 2036 just seems like a really long time. I think about this too when Tyron Smith signed his contract with the Cowboys, he created a problem because then every Cowboys fan thought everybody was going to do what Tyron Smith did. Tyron Smith took the team-friendliest deal in history. Like, just took a team, like, best left tackle in football, took a very team-friendly deal and wrote it out. And then, like, he also was smart. He and his agent knew that, like, look, he doesn't want to go anywhere. They're going to always pay him. He's got this good contract. It works out for both sides. And also, every time they renegotiate, he gets more money on the back end. Everything's fine. Tyron Smith's going to be in the Ring of Honor. There's no question about that. But, like, I even thought, like, why would you do that? And now you see, like, look, Dak Prescott didn't do that. Like, and right now the Cowboys are paying for it. So if you're the ACC, like, why would you do that just to not be able to have a look in or renegotiate anywhere down the line for 20 years? You're telling me that you're going to be happy with the same amount of money in 20 years from day one until the end of that? No. Are you going to work at the same job every year for the same amount of money and never ask for a raise? No. It was a bad deal. It was a bad deal. And they let ESPN, put them over the table a little bit and bully them into this deal. Like, you want this network. Like, everybody's going to have this network. Look, I've seen the ACC network since it's been on probably 30 times. And 25 of them were for Florida State games that were on the network. 5 other times I've turned it on. It's just not a thing. I've hardly watched the SEC network. I've hardly watched the Big Ten network. The only time I turn it on is for a game that's on there that I'm curious about. And even then, because those are the lower tier games, the third tier games, 1 out of 10 of them are going to be kind of like, ooh, hey, this was a nice little pick in the draft this week for the network. So yeah, it was a bad deal. And that, like, right now, the ACC is finding out that everybody's looked around and said, yeah, that was a really stupid deal. And we have no way to redo. Like, here's the other thing. They also have no way to redo the deal without completely blowing the thing up. And so that's a big problem.
Right. So, and once again, I'm not a lawyer, so it's like you have to make these arguments about the deal and, like, I mean, because you can't argue. We weren't okay with it. They were okay with it. They signed it. So that is the part I am, everybody's kind of jumping the gun and being like, they'll get out. Yeah, sure. At some point, but how? Like, this is why the Saudi Knowles joke got so much traction, because Florida State, and to their credit, like, that's what you should do. But they checked in on what it would be like to get private equity involved in their athletic department to see if they could fund a way to get out of this. So I think that, to me, like, the first move is always going to be those schools. If that's the case, like, where does the Big 12 fit in? Because, I think Florida State and Clemson are fit-wise SEC, but money-wise, they want Big Ten money. The Big Ten makes more. UVA and Virginia Tech make a lot of sense for the Big Ten, I believe. Carolina and Duke, same thing. Academic profile, location kind of fit in. Miami, I think, fits in as a Big Ten school, but location-wise, they're in the South, right? They are in Florida. So I think, like,
Miami actually, like, school size wise and academic profile wise, and I mean, they're
it's private school, right?
Yeah, like, that's a Big 12 school if I ever heard of one.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way. But, like, honestly, if they were in Ocala, they'd be in the Big 12. Like, they're,
right.
like, they,
right. But like Louisville, it's like, you talk about fit, like Louisville and Pitt make a lot of sense, right? You got West Virginia. I mean, it's in that area. Iowa State's right there, Cincinnati too. Those schools make sense. They're decent athletic departments. They have up and down years, football, basketball, but, like, they are both strong. So I think that's where you would see the Big 12 kind of make that kind of a push. NC State, I think, would like to go with Carolina. I don't want to see Tobacco Road get broken up just because, of realignment or whatever. Like, that's like the bridge too far for me. Like, if we're going to break up everything, like, Carolina, Duke are going to go one way, NC State goes another way, Wake Forest isn't involved at all. Like, that's like, okay, we're grabbing the bag and to what end at this point. So yeah, I think that's where I'm looking on this, is like the next round, whatever it is, we may have an agreement sooner than later. Sooner than later. I think it's going to take years in court still, in my opinion. But, like, the movement won't happen for a while because the contract is so long. So I think, like, Louisville and Pitt are, like, the ones everybody is looking at. But you have to wonder, Paul, if we go to tie this back into the beginning of the show, we go the Super League route, like, what is the appetite to jump?
Well, the part of the thing, in the Andrew Marchand article, was somebody said, look, the conferences are going to start going bankrupt because they can't get out of court. Like, it's lawsuit. So this would preempt all those lawsuits. It would take the need out of to have the lawsuits. So, and believe me, Clemson and Florida State would love to not have to be in court right now. All right, tell us what 10 teams we're going to play, and we're cool with that. Like, let's move on and let's make more money.
If there's some viewership and based incentives type stuff,
that's what they're asking for anyway.
Right, that's what they're asking for anyway. So I mean, because I honestly think the Super League thing throws a whole wrench into all of this.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we have to figure out, like, the structure of how we do the NCAA tournament, but mostly the CFP, and CFP by extension is the entire format of college football at this point. It looks like that's going to dictate whether schools leave a conference or not.
Yeah. Well, I think because the TV, like, you either have to have the television networks agree to a whole new thing in the middle of the contract, or basically, and here's what I think, it's not going to be done, like not everybody's going to agree to it before all these lawsuits are going down. But if Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina bolt from the ACC, then you'll see the motion among everybody else to be like, all right, we've got to stop this.
Yeah.
Like, this has to stop. I know that everybody's in this big land grab right now, but where does it end? And where is their consistency? And where do we start really making sense anymore? And we've got to modernize this thing. And you have to stop, like, any way that we've ever done anything when it comes to college football in general, you have to say, well, let's take the couple good things from it, but this is not what this was designed to be is over. They've already ruined that. So design a new thing of what it's going to be in the future. And 100 years from now, no one will ever care. But at you're going to have to make some changes, or 100 years from now, it's going to be way worse.
Yeah, it is. I think, I think about, like, we mentioned the regionality and stuff like that. And like, you're tearing at the fabrics and whatnot. And you have to wonder, hey, once again, I think Bud Elliott, reference him again, he made a really good point. Like, if you're Indiana, great, you're making more money than you ever did before. Your assistant AD now makes $150,000 a year as opposed to $100. You as a fan, like, where do you actually feel like is an Indiana fan being like, look at the Pac-12 falling apart? It's like, no, you just added 4 more losses on your schedule every other year, brother. Yeah. Like, so what are you excited about? I mean, like, the 4 programs they added are better football schools and actually basketball schools right now, at least, than like half the programs in the entire Big Ten.
Yeah.
So it's as fans, I'm kind of wondering, like, what's the way the fans, how do fans vote with their dollars? Because here's the thing, Paul. Here's a big problem. Attendance was up last year in college football, and viewership was up in college football. Yeah. So, and then my other big problem is people are like, it's the NIL in the portal. It's like, it's not. No. It's not the NIL in the portal. No. It's not how it is. And if you think about it too, like, what other billion-dollar industry doesn't pay the labor? Well, they have a scholarship. Okay. You can't work at Wendy's and play for Ohio State. You have to be a student. Yeah. Because, like, you go to Ohio State, you play for Ohio State. You can't just be Derek at the Wendy's and then once your 9 to 4 is over, go to practice. No. Like, the scholarship is to keep you eligible. Yeah. All right. And that's what they do. And they put you in music appreciation, all these classes and stuff like that. So, like, please save me with the get an education and whatnot. No, it really is not. There's like one Josh Dobbs, okay, for every 5,000. Not everybody's an aerospace engineer. Not everybody's using that career.
I'll give you the example of, there are plenty of people who go to college not for sports, get a degree, and are baristas. Okay? Yeah. I mean, it's the way we look at college has to change too.
Yeah, my degree, I have my degree. So I didn't graduate in journalism because they didn't have radio and sports radio at Missouri. So I have a communications degree. Like, I mean, like, that's not, it's, the whole point of it is, well, you graduate and whatnot. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So, like, the education part of it, please save that for me. And then once again, these kids are still not actually getting any of the actual money that's made from television and whatnot. They're not getting ticket money. They're getting other money from NIL and whatnot. And people are like, it's just NIL in the portal. And it's
look, yes, I would love to see some, like, reins put on those things so it's not just,
But don't blame the kids. Be like, these kids just prioritize the wrong things these days. It's like,
no.
Well, their ability to earn money playing a sport is, it's just been extended. Like if you're a college football player, you might make the NFL, but now you've got 4 years of college where you can't. Dylan Gabriel's not an NFL player, right? So, hey, man, get as much money as you can, Dylan, when you're in college. A million guys, basketball is a great example of this too. Like, these guys can now stay longer and make money in college because, a lot of them, like, think about Jamal Shead. Jamal Shead does not look like an NBA player. So if I'm him, I'm taking every single year I can in college to make as much money. Yeah.
And then you do get that education too.
Yes.
Like, you're getting it. Like
Paul, my big thing, and Barrett Lee always says this, they should they should curtail education to the players and be like, how do you use your 4 years as a player to have a successful life? I work with a guy, David Basil, every day. Played 4 years at Arkansas from Florida. He's turned it into an entire career in media skills, business, all that kind of stuff. And basically be like, let's not shy away from it. You are an athlete. You're here to play football. how can we turn your career, if you get injured or whatever it is, into, your passions, football, whatever, into a lifetime of work? How do you build connections, all that stuff, as opposed to being like, education's, that's what kids are getting paid back. No, they shove the kids in music appreciation. Tutors do a lot of the work for them. And especially now we got these teams. I mean, saving the education part, when USC is going to play Rutgers, I could barely keep my grades up. How are these kids going to do it when they play basketball and have to travel across the country to do it too?
Well, and again, all the classes are like all the athletes in those leagues, the classes are going to essentially be online.
Yeah.
So and what do you like
to keep them eligible, which what
are you opening the door for?
Right. So the whole point is this is a business and they should make money. So let's stop blaming the kids for starting to have a mind for business.
No, absolutely.
It's a business for the conferences too. My big thing is you have to understand what your business is though. It's college sports. Like what makes college sports different? You can't push too much into pro because there is a pro product. And in the football case, it is like it is the biggest television juggernaut in the country. So you can't become like that. You need to make sure you maintain your niche, which is regionality, which is, tradition, rivalries, and building up to big games, as opposed to being like, we've got 4 20-team leagues and these teams have nothing in common. Yeah. That's going to hurt the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, we're going to make this a regular thing. We're going to do this at least once a month.
Sorry for ranting at the end, Paul. I'm sorry.
No. Listen, I am a ranter. I love a good rant. I love a guest rant, whatever. This is also your show this week. So, or today. This is today's show for you. So we're going to do a lot more collabs. This is fun. We have a good time around here. And that's what we like to do. So we're going to have more of these things. It'll help both our channels and it'll help both the shows. And the chat room enjoyed you greatly, as they always do, Josh. And not one single one of them said a negative thing. So that's a good day for them. It's a good day for them.
That's a revelation for me.
Yeah.
That's a revelation. That's not the normal happening of events. So I appreciate the chat.
No, they certainly did it. By the way, I think I've diagnosed your problem. I think you need a new mic cable.
Has it been cutting out during the show?
Very slightly. Very slightly. Okay. But
XLR.
I would tell you, get a new XLR, and I bet your problems will be solved.
All right.
We'll
get it done.
That's 19 years in the biz.
We'll get it done.
I'm a ranking amateur sound engineer.
Yep.
$25 Amazon gift card right here. Yeah. We'll do it right after the show.
Yeah. I'm not a professional. Like, look, I'm not going to come in, I'm like one of those guys at the US Open. I can have a couple good rounds, but ultimately the pros are going to beat me. That's who I am.
Every time.
All right, Josh, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Paul. It was fun.
All right. Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch. Coming up on the show today, we've got Max Olson, we've got Jed Drenning, Brandon Helwig, John Kurtz, and Brandon Marcello, also hoping against hope to get Andrew Marchand.
Yes.
We're waiting on confirmation of that. We may get him. We may not. We'll see. But that would be awesome if we got him. That's all coming up in an hour. We'll see you then. This is the Triple Option and Big 12 Watch on 365 Sports and Crystal Ball College Football.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.